Let's be honest, we all need a bit of inspiration from time to time. Maybe we're feeling a bit down, a bit mojo gone, maybe not feeling quite right about whatever project it is we've got. We just need another idea, another boost, another push to get our creative mind working. Well, that's the idea behind the inspiration box. And I've just received number 3 from Spruebox, from James Skiffins at sprue.box.co.uk. Why don't you stick around and see what he sent me this time, right here on Gary Stuff. Hi, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today, I'm opening the third of the inspiration boxes I've received from sprue.box.co.uk. These are an amazing series. You sign up to a subscription for a year, or each year you renew it, and you get a quarterly box of inspiration. Now, that box can contain absolutely anything. The first one was a Jeep in 1/35th scale with some figures and a diorama base and the makings for a building on the side, some foam and some slates, some tiles for the roof, all 3D printed, I believe they are. Oh, and some cards, so you can cut out cards to make things like stone blocks and window frames and whatever your heart desires. All the stuff was provided there just to let your imagination run loose, which is an amazing box actually. The second was a set of a bust of a British officer, Gonville Brumhead, actually, as it happens. If you've seen the film Zulu, Michael Caine's character in Zulu was Gonville Brumhead. This was a bust of him in resin, much bigger, and also came with a load of paints to help look at how you do flesh tones in particular on a large scale. Then you can take that experience down to smaller scales to make really cool looking miniatures. This time round, I don't know what's in it yet. I'm going to go and open it. So why don't you stick around and have a look? If you enjoy the show, please remember, imperial thumbs up on the like button below because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and you'll be notified of all my future content as it turns up. And of course, if you'd like to make a more concrete support for the channel, you can do that through Super Thanks, by becoming a channel member, or by using any of my online partner programs. Just for the sake of clarity, can I point out that Spruebox do not send me this for free. My one is very kindly paid for by Crazy Loacher, but Spruebox don't send it for free. They don't expect a particular reply. The opinions here are entirely my own and they're entirely honest. Okay, let's crack on and have a look at what we get inside this quarter's inspiration box. Okay then, let's have a look at what we get inside the box. So we have some beer mats, tea mats, coasters, call them what you like. We have the card from Model Officer's Mess, very nice. A couple of little stickers. Welcome Wing Commander, your next mission orders are enclosed. Are you ready? Signed from James at Spruebox. I'll take those away and have a look at that. There's other stuff away here. And we have, first of all, we have a bag of these holder things, like crocodile clips and skewers. I've seen people using these. I've never used them myself. So that's a good idea. I think these are going to be good for holding smaller parts while you paint them. Excellent. Thanks, James. That's really good. And then we have this huge kit, which is an ICM kit of a World War II Luftwaffe airfield. Now, these kits contain 2 aircraft and a set of figures as well, 6 figures, I believe. So, 7 figures. Do beg your pardon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 figures. That's a big piece of kit. That is a lot to do. 2 complete 1/48 scale planes and 7 figures as well, and something to put them on, no doubt. Yeah, that's going to be fun. That is going to be a lot of fun. Let's have a look at a bit more closely what you get inside this box. All right, so here's the box. Always like the box art on these ICM kits these days. They're really nice. 7 figures. This could not be more like Adolf Galland. I'm sure. Let me zoom in. Those are portraits of Luftwaffe races. That is absolutely Adolf Galland. I should know who this is, but I don't. I'm afraid. You have someone suiting up with a technician to help them. You have someone from the maintenance corps. You have someone from maintenance who's not actually holding anything, so obviously they don't supply I don't know, something. We can make something up there. Another person looking over a cockpit here. And then we have, zoom out again, have the 2 aircraft, the Henschel 126, I believe that is. Is that 126? Yes, it is. And BF-109 F4, this is apparently. So 2 complete 148 scale aeroplanes and 7 figures. Let's have a look inside the box. Okay, so ICM boxes always have a slip-on outer and then a top opening box for the actual aircraft parts. So we have a cellophane bag full of a BF-109. We have a cellophane bag, considerably larger cellophane bag because it's a surprisingly big piece of aeroplane for the Henschel 126. That's a lot bigger than I imagined. If you just a second compare the size of the fuselage of the 109 with the Henschel. Henschel's huge, and compare the wings. It's amazing. So this is a big old chunk of kit there. We do have indeed a cellophane bag with the 148 scale figures, and then we have some instructions. One set for the 109, one set for the 126, one set for the ground figures, and well, a little thing about after sales service as well. Free after sales service. Okay, so let's have a look at these pieces in a bit more detail. So this is the sheet that James has put in to sort of discuss what's inside. Basic aircraft, basic. Okay. Welcome to this inspiration box, the 3rd in the series. I'm going to take things a little easier on you. Well, it is for me because I make a lot of airplanes and I do paint aircrew figures as well. But never get complacent about what you have to do and what you can do and can't do. So here it is indeed. It shows you that this kit basically is one of these, plus one of these, plus one of these. So it's 3 things that ICM box separately, they then box together in this thing, and you've got your 10 part holders as well. Normally, there's a video, an instruction video or a discussion video on this. What James does with the Spruebox inspiration box is there's on the Discord server that you become a member of, there's instructional videos. But there aren't any on this. But what he's trying to do this time is say, please, exchange your experiences, exchange your views through the Discord thing to have some hangouts and stuff. So that's a pretty cool idea. I just need to get Discord working on my side because I have trouble with Discord trying to get it to work properly. But there we go. I will try and see about that. Yeah, it's good. Basically, it's saying that here's some kits. Get on with it, but use some experience from the past boxes. One was a vehicle and a diorama set with some figures. One was a much larger bust and a whole load of flesh colour paints. to practice doing faces and hair and stuff like that. Okay, well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is right in my comfort zone, so I'm really looking forward to doing this. So the first aircraft kit, let's open up this bag, is the BF109F. Let's have a look and see what the parts look like. Okay, this is frame A. It has the two fuselage halves, nose sections, chin here, propellers, tail fin, air inlets, and so on a couple of machine guns. Frame B is the wings, upper and lower sections, and the wheels. And frame C is essentially everything else. Now they do have a complete engine, so you can have an engine open option as well. You have the different wingtips, the different marks had different wingtips. You had the tail planes here as well, flaps and all sorts of stuff like that. All the interior parts of the cockpit, undercarriage, the leading edge slats, prop boss, and so on. Essentially everything else. And then finally the transparency section. Very straightforward. The windshield, the plexiglass, added parts, gun sights, the actual canopy, the rear canopy part, and I guess this is a landing light or identification light as well. Very straightforward. If we have a look at the actual moulding on the parts here, it looks okay. It looks not too bad. That these moulds are getting older because you can see there's some flash creeping in here on quite a few of the parts. So it's not massive, but it does need a bit of cleaning up. However, it does mean that the parts are filled, so there's no undershots, fortunately. The inside wall, again, it's quite nicely moulded. And there's going to be more detail, obviously, from the interior parts of the kit. But again, you can see here these bits of flash are a little intrusive. There's no massive flow marks on the plastic, so it looks like it goes through the mould very nicely. What does surprise me, and I'll zoom out for this, is how flimsy these are. I mean, they really feel a bit, these frame edges are really thin. Now, it could be because they wanted to economize on the plastic, which is most likely. But it all just feels a bit odd, and modern ICM doesn't feel like this. So this is probably a reasonably old kit. I won't say much more than that because I'll look it up on Scalemates before I tell you, so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Let's zoom back into the wings here. Yeah, the rivet parts, riveting here. Looks nice enough. I mean, that's going to pick out nicely with some washes and so on and so forth underneath. I think that's going to be okay. You can see the flow lines here. There's nothing you can feel on the aircraft itself, on the surface itself, but you can see there are sort of these symmetrical flow lines. Symmetrical flow lines, however, make me encourage that they know what they're doing. Again, quite a flimsy sort of frame. And then these parts are actually a lot better. They're not as full of flash. They're still very thin frames, but the parts themselves actually look really nicely molded. The instrument panel there will be fine, either with a decal. I presume they supply a decal. If not, then doing some dry brushing. The interior parts of the cockpit looking okay. Engine, it looks all right. That can make a nice little engine. The carriage legs. This doesn't normally fill me with confidence when there's such a small thing, but it is a rectangular peg, so it should be okay. The instruction booklet comes with a very brief description of the aircraft, some basic statistics, some frame maps, which are always quite good, and then the instructions. First thing to do is make the engine, make the cockpit, put it all together in the two halves, and all the other bits and pieces, wings and so on, and then undercarriage. It all looks very straightforward. Well, essentially, three picture frames, and that's done. There's more to it than that, obviously, but let's see how we go. Then we have the scheme layout choices, sadly in black and white, but you know, it saves on costs, I guess. This one here for an aircraft based in Ukraine in 42 March. One in the Leningrad area, in all over white, which I'm really tempted by. White with the yellow bars and then a very pale blue underside. I'm really tempted by that. That's got good opportunity for doing some weathering around all of these lines, all the panel lines. Yeah. This one for another one based in Ukraine. Yeah. And this one based up at Petsamo in Finland in July 42. So 4 schemes that they suggest. As I say, it's a pity these are in black and white, but you know, you get the drift, and the references are there, I guess. And then the decal sheet, pretty much old school ICM decals, really. There's kind of a limit to the blacks tend to be really good, then the other colours are not as sharp. The red isn't as sharp, for example. So on these combined ones, or on these don't walk lines, they can be a little bit not quite convincing in sharpness, but the blacks are absolutely spot on. The colours are rich though. You know, this yellow is really nice. This green is very good as well. The other thing I've noticed before with ICM is that they crowd the decals into this space, and then the ID numbers for the decals are really big. So trying to get some of these out, you know, they're going to be it's going to be a craft knife to get some of these things out and separate. But that's not the end of the world. They look okay. They look fine. And in the past, they've actually stuck down okay, which is the important bit, I guess. Let's have a look inside the parts bag. Okay, so this is frame A. It contains, as you can see, the 2 fuselage halves, all sorts of bits and pieces, all of the flying surfaces, the tailplane, rudder, fins, ailerons, flaps, all of that, and some of the interior structure of the fuselage. The 2 wing halves make up what they say is frame B, although there's no frame. I don't know where that's. We'll have a look at the injections are on the actual front and surfaces, of course. We'll have a look at those, obviously, in a bit more detail later, but that is basically frame B right there. Frame C and all the really teeny tiny parts. There's some engine bits here, stuff for the interior, the controls. There's all guns, and that's going to be tricky to get off, but there we go. Have a look at that in a bit more detail later. The guns, magazines, the wheels, of course, and various parts of the cockpit and of the back, because of course this was a reconnaissance aircraft, so there's more than just the one pilot. Frame D is more of these are the wing structure here, the covers for the engines, various bits and pieces of the engines. Interesting that the props come as individual blades on this, not as one single piece. Okay. Wheel spats and so on and so forth. Then finally, the transparent parts. You have a windshield, you have a basic canopy. It was the back end was open air. It's an observation aircraft. Interestingly, a lot of the instruments here come as clear parts, but we'll look at those in a bit more detail in a minute. Instruction manual. as usual for this sort of age of ICM, it's reasonably basic, reasonably small and cheap to produce, but we'll get by with them. So the front page is all of the frame layouts. Second page is quite a lot to do here, building this interior. So we'll take a lot of time checking and double checking all of these instructions later on. Then there's the rest of the fuselage. You can see here, there's just like the windshield and a cover, and then the back end is really just basically open to the elements. Engine construction. Engine is going to look quite cool. I might leave off one of these, or have it raised up one of these covers. I don't know how accurate that would be. I'll have to have a look. And then the wings and the rest of the empennage and the control surfaces. What I suspect I will do on this is make the fuselage and tailplanes and that, paint the wings separately, and then when they're all done, then put them all together. It seems like a much, much safer way of doing things. The colour schemes here, there's a whole load of paints here, but they give you RLM numbers and then the descriptions in English and in Ukrainian. I guess this is Ukrainian. And model master colors. Now, for on this set of instructions actually give you RLM numbers. On the other one, for the BF109, they didn't, and that made life a bit more tricky. But we can get by with RLM numbers. That's fine. Not that it's going to be an issue for me, I suspect. Anyway, there we go. There is some camouflage. This one's from Finland, I guess, around about Patsamo again. The Russian winter of 42. Again, this all over white, I think, lends itself to a really interesting pair with the BF109. No landing spats, of course, because they'd have got clogged up with snow. And likewise, ones in North Africa would have got dirt and rocks and whatever in them, I guess. There's a North African colour as well. And finally, the decal sheet. Again, these are big crosses, aren't they? Again, the blacks work really well. Some of the other colours are fine. Some of the detail actually in the little badges is better. I think they've gone up a level when they started making these. Or maybe the others are just not as well designed. But these look a lot better. These part numbers seem a lot smaller actually than on the 109. And there's a little bit more room for these to breathe. Now, of course, the thing is with the Henschel, there's not by any means anything like the number of stencils on it as there are on a 109, but there's also a lot larger lettering that needs to go on. But they look fine. Having a closer look at the plastic now, all looks very nicely moulded. They have got some little bits of ejection pins here, but they're not too prominent on these interior parts. Fortunately, the moulding looks reasonably crisp. Say some of this equipment on the inside of the, I suppose, the radios and stuff like that on the inside here. Obviously, a lot of this is going to have other stuff on top of it. The surfaces look great. There's a bit of a sort of scuffy look to it slightly. I think I will give these a bit of a rub down with some alcohol or something first, because maybe there's a bit of release fluid used on these. I'm not sure. But the mouldings look fine. They look okay. There's a tiny bit of flash here and there, but nothing that's going to be too desperately difficult to get rid of. Yeah, everything's looking okay. Likewise on some of these really small parts, the detail is definitely there. These magazines look great. Though one thing that does really actually concern me is getting this off the frame, this gun. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. Bit of a challenge. The wheels, the tyres have got the bit of moulding of texture on them. Engine, yeah, looks fine to me. It looks okay. A few more bits and pieces of equipment that go in as well later on. Overall, yep, very nice. I'm sure it'll be grand. And finally, the transparent parts look nice and clean. There's no bubbles in the feeds, so that's good. They look all very nice, very sharp. And as I mentioned earlier, you do actually have these instruments molded into the plastic, the transparent plastic. Now, I saw this on the 124th Spitfire at Airfix, and I asked the guys whether that's because you get a finer mold, because this is essentially unadulterated polystyrene because it's clear. All the other parts have things like flow improvers, they have plasticizers, all sorts of things, and of course colorant, to make the plastic a bit softer and a bit easier to work with. But I was just wondered whether molding some of the instrument panels in clear give you just a crisper result, and they wouldn't actually say no, it doesn't. What they said, well, actually, what Chris, the designer, said was, well, why we do that is because you could then paint the back and paint the front differently and just have like a little surround of transparent, put a light behind it and make it look lit up. I don't think ICM would have bothered doing that. I think this is because it gives you a really, being a harder plastic gives you a much crisper result on a part that needs crisp results, isn't necessarily, you don't have to worry about anything else with it. That's just my theory anyway. First part we have in the box is this frame with the 7 figures of various people doing various things, including like pilots and commanding officers and whatever, chaps getting their flying kit on, being assisted into their flying kit, chaps doing a bit of maintenance. There's a chap there with a swagger stick by looks of things. This chap looks like he's got a screwdriver, so maybe we do have the complete figures here. Faces and uniforms all very nice. Yeah, looks all very good. Mouldings look good. Little pistols and holsters here, very nice. And there's the crew faces. I'll try and get a bit closer in on the faces. So yes, you can see the faces are actually pretty well modelled. There's a nice sort of flow on the fabric, nothing too harsh, nothing too difficult. The engineer, it looks all very nice. Chap getting into his harness, still got one strap to plug in over here. You'll need that if you get shot down, old boy. And, jolly captain with his knight's cross. I presume it's a captain. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that the guy in the big greatcoat is going to be more a high-ranking commander. Again with the knight's cross on. Yeah, these faces are nicely done. They should be reasonably easy to paint, he said. Famous last words, obviously. Yeah, these figures look very nice. And with it comes the layout of the frame on the instructions here, call-outs of all the colours. Again, no RLMs or anything like that, just model master numbers. So you will need to convert some of those, not all of them, but some of them you may need to convert. And then a basic sort of colouring list here for the various people. Well, I must say that was slightly unexpected, but very, very welcome. I was amazed how big that Henshaw 126 is compared to the BF109. Love the figures that come with it. However, what I'm thinking of, I actually have on the way from Kiev, I have the new Mistel 1 set, which is a BF109 sat on top of the Junkers 88, but with the proper bomb nose, not the glazed nose of the trainer version, the S1, but the Mark 1 missile. That's on its way. I may well substitute the Mistel for the BF109 in a little collage, or indeed put all of them together, but I'd love to add the Mistel. So I'll make sure that the colour schemes I use are appropriate for the colour schemes in the Mistel as well. paint up the figures, and let's see how we go. I'm really looking forward to this, and I've never used those clip things on skewers. I've never used those before, so I'll see how we get on with them. Altogether, quite an interesting challenge. We've got the faces and the figures and the materials to do for the figures, and we've got a couple of big planes to do. Well, one big plane, one medium-sized plane to deal with. It's going to be fun, and then put them all together. It's going to be great fun. Wonderful. So do come back to the channel and see how that turns out in the future. How you know when it's published? Well, best way, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Then you get notified of all my future content as it turns up. And of course, anything you like that you see on my channel, please give it the imperial thumbs up on the like button below, because every like counts. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope to see you again very soon. Take good care now, and goodbye.